tell you, it's a wet Friday morning in a big and beautiful city of Ibadan. A beautiful morning to you, and I welcome you to the From the Dailies on Solutions 93.9 FM. We are set to take you through the newspapers we have in the studio this morning. And this morning I've got about 4 different newspapers. I've got the Vanguard, I've got the Nigerian Tribune, I've got the Punch newspaper, and of course the Guardian newspaper. My name is Adetamola Lafewa, and doing this with me is Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe.
It's a good morning to you, all of us out here and everywhere you might be. Of course, Barka Jimoh to the Muslim faithfuls and to the boys and girls, I say, thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. I mean, when he started reasoning, what came to my mind was that, well, Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe be able to make it down to the studio this morning. And I was praying, I was praying that, God, let him have enough fuel in his car to
Exactly.
To,
because I knew I was not going to drive, and I checked the weather forecast for today, routine that I do. I set out early, a lot earlier than I normally do if I'm not driving.
Okay, all right. So I'm glad to see you live in
Of
the
course,
studio.
it's always a pleasure to be on this platform.
All right, let's go straight to the business of the day before we start getting the perspective of our analyst this morning. I have the Vanguard newspaper right in front of me, and the front page it says, End bad governance, release detained protesters now. Onayeka, Arewa youth CSOs. And that story is found on page 5. And there are quite a number of riders under that caption. Arraign or release protesters before August 25 or face legal action. Falana tells FG. Says adequate notice must be given suspect to enable them contact NBA families for defense. And another one says, okay, let me see. I'm trying to read the riders now. Another one says over 30 lawyers coming to court for 27 protesters at Denyoju. Away from that now, let's take another story. And this one is saying FD Malls differential tariff to stimulate demands. Power Minister Adelabo. That story is found on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. Nigeria's trade surplus rises 145% to $8.26 billion. State House 2025 budget will be on actual requirement. Presidency. Pay rise. NBA asks judges to revive public trust. And the last one I'll be taking. Ajairo's police summons. Obi cautions FG as Nupeng puts oil workers on red alert. That story is found on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this Friday morning. Now taking a look at the Nigerian Tribune this morning, Oando completes $783 million Nigerian Ajip Oil Company acquisition deal. As NNPC says, Oando, Wale Tinubu have no equity in OVH. Away from that, ICPC warns against undermining Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy. That story is found on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Niger killings. FG orders security agencies to track foreign miners funding banditry. And rider under that bans mining in Shiroro site. Vows to avenge killing of 12 miners. That story is found on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Power sector. Minister mulls differential tariffs to stimulate demands. Says grid connection cheapest, most reliable. Ariwola bows out as CJN signs of new Supreme Court rules. 2 riders under that. AGF cautions against subversion of democratic government. And the second one says Tinubu to swear in Kekiriekun as CJN today. And the last one I'll be taking on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune says Adeleke issues directives on food inflation, fuel prices, people's welfare. That story is found on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. Now, taking a look at the Punch newspaper, the front page says Dangote Refinery begins petrol production test run. That story is found on page 21. Tinubu cuts short France trip, swears in CJN today. NNPC directors' expenses jump by 214%. Report. Let me take that again. NNPC directors' expenses jump by 214%. A report. I have the data, the breakdown of the entire expenses of the directors at the NNPC. We'll talk about that. I have it. Okay. Away from that now, landowners sue FG over 15 trillion naira Lagos Calabar Highway. And riders under that, Umahi vows to continue project, insists government paying compensation. FG rolls out new roads in 2025, plans to complete existing project. I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Away from that, Minister writes Finance Ministry over Sanu Nasu withheld salaries. That story is found on page 29 of the Punch newspaper. 6 NSAS protesters freed after 4 years detention. Pages 4 and 5 have that story.
That is blood chilling.
It is. I mean, after 4 years of being detained without any arraignment. And okay, should this be the last one? Okay, let me take this one. LP denies APC alliance 1.6 billion naira offer. That story is found on page 7. APC campaign built on lies, says PDP. That story is found on page 30 of the Punch newspaper. And the last one I'll be taking says bandits kill 13 Niger farmers, alleged leaked information. And let me quickly move to the Guardian newspaper. Thousands, okay, let me take it again. Insurgency in Northeast, thousands in Dare Strait as support dry up in border towns. Talking about the shortage of funding coming from the humanitarian organization to take care of the people in IDP camps in the Northeast. That's what the story is all about. Don't destroy PDP, Dele Momodu warns as party's crisis worsens. FG films as terrorists kill 12 abduct minors in Niger. CJN, Tinubu to swear in Kekiriekun as Ariwola retires. And another one says court discharges 6 NSAS protesters after 4 years. The last one I'll be taking. Okay, let me take 2 more. Owando completes $783 million Ajip acquisition deal. Knocks for immigration over passport fee hike. And the last one I'll be taking. Chinese firm continues seizure spree with another Nigerian jet in Canada. That story is found on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. It's 9:44 on Solutions 93.9 FM. And let's go straight to get the perspectives of our analyst this morning. Good morning to you once again, Comrade.
Yes, once more, a good morning.
Now, let's look at this. We'll be having a new Chief Justice of the Federation this morning. Chief Justice of Nigeria, that is Justice Kudirat Kekiriekun, replacing Ariwola, who is retiring. Now, looking at this lady now, talking about Kudirat Kekiriekun, looking at her antecedents, because she has been able to be a part of landmark judgments in the country, and most importantly, the judgment between Emeka Yedioha and Hope Uzodinma in Imo State concerning the Guba election. Now, what are the reforms that you expect Justice Kudirat Kekiriekun to bring into the judiciary system? Because now, in recent times, we've been having different conflicting, controversial, and sometimes embarrassing judgments coming from that arm of government.
Well, before I take a look at the hopes and expectations from Kudirat Kekiriekun, the new CGN, of course, there is the person. I can say that she comes from a solid pedigree. She is a fashionero. The father is a fashionero, and that is a family where I've seen obeying suave, civil, and cultured children raised. I recall Habib Fashiro, who was a member of the House of Reps. Apparently, he could have had that seat, have it as a permanent seat. The father was also a senator anyway, and a being civil man, And of course, the values with which you are raised, they are fundamental in who we all turn out to be. Yes, there are other influences along the line, but that Habib Fashiro just left the House of Reps and, he just faced whatever he was doing. So this is a sister to, anyway, a Fashiro and on the bench. Those values will reflect. Interestingly too, there are, people are giving it political undertone. The husband is, close to Atiku.
The former vice president.
Yeah, very close to Atiku. The father is a progressive in quote, and of course the father has passed on, all those influences. People are giving it their own interpretations. But what are the values? Well, that is what determines ultimately. Yes, talking about the judiciary, the conflicting, embarrassing, sometimes scandalous judgments that come out of them, that the ordinary man on the street, remains baffled. Even Ulisa Agbako Basan says there are some cases that are obviously predictable, but the outcomes when we get in court sometimes baffle us. Well, I think I take it down. When Nigerians are talking about restructuring Nigeria, people tend to think that the restructuring that we require to make Nigeria functional is political, our political structures. Give more powers to the state. Go back to the pre-1966 January 15 structure. It is beyond the political. It is also has to do with the judicial structure. I have said it quite a number of times here. I mean, let us have maybe geopolitical Supreme Court, you understand, dealing with certain issues, We used to have chief justices in the region and then a chief justice of the federation, so that certain cases will not go beyond the state or will not go beyond, what do you call it? The geopolitical zones that we have recognized as a political entity and arrangement. Justice Ariola said it when he was leaving, that the Supreme Court is burdened.
Overburdened.
Overburdened.
That was the word.
Now, burdened is bad enough. Not to now say overburdened.
Overburdened. That was the word he used.
The appeal court, we were told a few months back, has about 30-something thousand cases before it. Now, what is even the stages in which those cases are? How many judicial divisions of the appeal court do we have? And not until recently did we have 21 judges on the Supreme Court bench. They came down to 11 or thereabouts. And that means you cannot have more than 2 panels at a time. So this is the kind of restructuring. And then our judges write with long hand.
Long hand in what sense?
They have to take everything down in written form by themselves. Except, of course, I think it's only the industrial court in which I've seen secretaries take things down, electronically. The judges have to write with long hand. And of course, when you write long hand, of course, the secretary can take it down electronically. Of course, you will make your own keynotes, you understand? Keynotes as the lawyers address you. But writing longhand and hearing about situations of going to the court, you understand, continuously for a long period of time. And I see what transpires. They sit 9. I think they usually take civil cases or sometimes criminal cases, and then they sit. And then you have to go back home. When you sit all through the day, you have to go back home to review those cases. It's not just that. And then you will now write your judgments on every case or rulings or on applications and all of that. That is not.
Now, another issue that should be looked into is we've had in recent times that even the court, the jurisdiction of cases in some court, we've had some judgment that will say that, that particular court has no jurisdiction to entertain that particular case. And we've had judges on those courts entertaining cases that they are not meant to entertain.
You see, when there is no sanction, I will cite an instance in the British legal system. A judge brought a particular case to court, and the presiding judge said, "Have you read so case and the judgments regarding it?" He said no. And the judge immediately sent him a copy of that judgment. It was later found out. Of course, they will track you. Everything you can is traceable. It was later tracked that the lawyer, the counsel, had accessed that particular judgment. He was sanctioned. You understand? When our lawyers know that there is sanction, for every infraction, because you're going to waste the time of the court. You understand? Then something that is clearly decided, precedent, they call it, is decided. So why you want to waste the time of the court?
Is it the fault of the lawyers now, or the fault of the judges who are even entertaining cases that they are not meant to entertain?
How do you mean they are not meant to entertain?
I
The
mean,
moment they are listed, they are listed for mentioning, then they are listed for hearing. You understand? You have to, judges' hands are tied, as it were. You have to be seen to be dispensing justice and not judgment. You understand? It has to be very, very clear to all parties concerned. So when it is done in open, it has to come into the open court. If the judge had overruled him, in chambers or formally by writing. So when it was done in open court, everybody saw what happened. You understand? So it has to be justice. It has to be seen to be, when you say somebody is just, that is even-handed. And for you to be seen to be even-handed, it has to be in the open, So, you see, since the days of justice stealing reliance, ex parte orders has been contentious. Yet, they issue it till tomorrow. No sanctions. Or the sanction is not severe enough. And the lawyers too. Frivolous applications. So
there is a lot on the hands of Justice Kudura.
Of course. Restructuring the judicial system. And I don't understand why the appointments of judges has to go to one national judicial case. For what? Why? These are hangovers of military era. You understand? The unification decree, unifying all services. The bureaucracy, unifying the bureaucracy, unifying the...
That has been the norm for years now.
Well, it is looking like the way we are, but that was not the way we were. We are a federal union. And then I don't understand. The payment of salaries and something like that. Even the federal, the National Judicial Council is involved. What for? In this same country, the Western Regional Civil Service paid higher than the Federal Civil Service. In this same country, when the Western Regional government was paying £5 something, they were paying just about half of that at the federal level. You understand? In this same country. Because they recognized that the bureaucracy was the engine room of governance. That politicians will come and go. You understand? But the bureaucracy remains the engine room of governance.
Okay, let's move away from that now, since we are talking about court cases and issues like that. There is this one talking about end bad governance. Release detained protesters now on Ayeka, Arewa Youth, CSOs. And another one, a statement coming from Femi Falana. Arraign or release protesters before August 25 or face legal action. Now, people were arrested. Some people were arrested during the last end bad governance and are still being held in captivity without being arraigned. And we had another story about people
NSAS
2020
October,
who are just being released this week. Now, are these cases not more like an infringement on human rights?
They certainly are. I mean, under which provisions of the law are you holding them? You understand? Have they committed bailable offenses?
Is there a maximum period that one should be incarcerated or should be held?
Yeah, I don't think it's more than
presented?
48 hours, either 24, 48 hours. You must arraign. You understand? Or you are holding them under special provisions of the law. It has to be legal. You understand? It has to be legal. If it is not legal, how can you be? I mean, it is the court that discharged those 6 guys, Abi.
Yes.
Now, that means they were not arraigned. Look, everything is sick. You know, the judicial system does not stand alone. The courts, the lawyers, the police that prosecute, and what do they call them now? They call them recreational, the prisons. What do they call them now?
Correctional facilities.
Correctional facilities. I go to these correctional facilities because I belong to a group. We go there twice a month. For God's sake. It is pathetic.
But even that word, correctional, are those prisons truly correctional?
I don't think so.
Because I've had a few opportunities to be there, maybe to grant interviews or some things like that, and the state of the condition of the prisoners in those places are not. I don't see anything being correctional in that.
There's nothing correctional about it. You understand? There is nothing. Okay, what are the things in place to correct them? If you want to correct somebody, bad behavior, do you have facilities in place? Do they have workshops where they learn skills? You know, so that when the person comes out, he's looking forward to something apart from the social stigma. Are you equipping them? I know that the organization that I belong to, where those who wanted to write WAEC exams and all of that from prison, we have had to buy them chairs and tables and pay for their exams. Yes, I mean, this organization that I belong to.
Inmates.
We have to pay because they have to write within that place. You know, why it makes such provision? We have had to buy tables and chairs and even pay for their, you know. So even if, let's say, they don't have provision to pay, what about tables and chairs? You understand? Everything you get there, you know, is, you know, it's pathetic. I call it correctional facilities. I remember one man that came out, you know, he used to be a pickpocket and all of that, but he got one day monkey go market, got caught. And he said, in prison, in jail, that he has seen people, human beings with tails. I know what he meant. What he simply meant was that they grew so lean, so malnourished, that the tail end of the spinal cord will come out like a tail.
That's very pathetic.
Harrowing, scary. So we call them that. If you look, check out the rates now. Most of them, they know that they have the figures. They give us sometime. The return rate, the one I call return rate. When you are out, they are in prison for one thing or the other. You understand? Either discharge or serving sentence. They are soon back there. They're soon back there. It has become home. You know, they plan all sorts of things from those correctional facilities. In fact, there are things one cannot even share here. I have a friend who retired as at the level of a commissioner some years back. And when he was in a particular correctional facility, he was a junior officer. Of course, he was in charge. He was a junior officer, not a senior, junior as in senior ranking, but he was in charge. And I remember, believing me, we were going to get. I said, "Where did you guys?" He laughed. You know, the rations of I was supposed to even go to the prison. Wow. Yes.
Wow.
It's horrendous.
What was meant for the inmates diverted.
Things that we do in this country.
Okay, away from that, but not so far away from that. I just saw another particular story now. Pay rise, that means for the judges. NBA asks judges to revive public trust.
It is good. You see, people don't just become who they are. What kind of people are you putting on the bench? In those days, the shores, you know, they were invited. You understand? Based on character, based on value, based on the value addition that is anticipated. You know, they were invited. They didn't struggle. All these one people are writing applications to become SAN, writing applications, and then they are, they are doing quota. They're doing quota, even at state level. This zone has how many judges? This zone has how many judges? Is that how you dispense justice? I mean, money. There are some people, no matter how much money you give them, it's like the Yoruba say, an elephant still looking for, still looking for bits and pieces. When you have an elephant too, and they're still looking for bits and pieces. There are some people like that. A friend of mine sent me a message this morning. He said he had something going on in Nigeria. That could it be true? I said, in Nigeria, I'm still digging, you understand? But, and he said, what's wrong with these people? I said, you see, it depends on the values with which you are brought up, you are raised, and how much of it you imbibe and becomes a part of you. I remember what Michelle Obama said, when they go low, go high. There must be bars. You understand? I will not descend below this bar. You understand? I will not descend, no matter what. This everybody has a price.
Everybody has a price, but it shouldn't be the judges.
It shouldn't be the judges.
That's what the NBA is now telling them, that ask judges to revive public trust. Because
what about NBA itself? What about NBA itself? Is NBA above board? Are even the senior ranking members of the NBA, are they above board? Are they? Are they not the enablers? Are they not the conduits that were here? There are some that are notable now, that if you have a political case,
contact him.
Okay, Senator Bukachua, who stood up, an old man, was leaving the Senate and stood up and said he was, he was thanking his wife, the head of the Appeal Court of Nigeria, that he was thanking his wife for cooperating with him as he brought some cases of his colleagues in the Senate, and she was not holding back. She actually helped. What's the meaning of that? And I remember,
saying that publicly,
live, and then who was this?
I saw the clip.
Who was the Senate president there? What was his name?
I can't remember now.
Mama, what was his name? Lawan was there.
Ahmed Lawan.
Lawan was there. Senator Bukachua. I don't think that is. Now, who are the enablers? These things. I was at Bolese light showers this morning, and I asked somebody, I said, vehicles don't pass through this road again. They said they pass. I said, why are these Okadas parked like this? They block a major, I said, why are we like this? And we're demanding good governance. I don't want good governance. What I want is transparency.
Okay, let's look at Ajairo's case with the police now. Ajairo's police summons. Obi cautions FG as Nupeng puts all workers on red alert. Some Nigerians are believing that what was meant to be a subtle summon by the police to Joe Ajaero is being blown out of proportion.
It remains a summon. They did not even say. They did not even accuse him. Was there an accusation in there?
And that's why I say some Nigerians are beginning to believe that this issue is being blown out of proportion. Probably Joe Ajaero is just trying to win some public sympathy.
Well, of course, he's in a position to. But why? Let's wait. Let's see what the police will do. And then there will be appropriate response. You can be sure of that.
Because now they said Nupeng puts oil workers on red alert. There
is no need for that. I tell you, they won't be that careless. If a man was only a tenant, you understand? It will be clear. If there was involvement, the security people, apparatus of coercion, subtle threats, intimidation, and all of that. Let them lay it before. Maybe if they are going to prosecute him, maybe they have to accuse him. Maybe they have to put evidence before the public court. They cannot detain the man. They dare not. And if they detain the man, then that is a validation of the fears of the people. Police should be careful. They should not put government in unnecessary
Tight position.
Tight position.
Okay, let's look at this now. NNPC directors' expenses jumped 214% to 2.6 billion naira report. And I'd like to read the breakdown of the thing. Executive and non-executive directors at the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited received 2.59 billion naira as fees and expenses in the 2023 financial year. Okay, the figure indicates an increase of 214% from 824 million naira paid to the directors in 2022. Now, looking at the breakdown, I mean, you begin to ask questions. So much money going into that company, so to say, but Nigerians are still
214%
increase. Yeah.
Did the productivity
That
of
is the
NNPC
question.
increase by 214%? Look, Aramco of Saudi Arabia declared a profit for year 2023. That was done in March. Declared a profit of $121 billion. NNPC declared 3.7 trillion naira. That is just about $2 billion. Granted, Aramco produces 10.2 million barrels of crude per day. That's production. You understand? Okay, let's say Nigeria does 2 million barrels. That's a fifth of what Aramco does. That gave them that profit margin. Okay, a fifth. So what is a fifth of 120?
Please hold on. Let me read the breakdown now. I just saw the breakdown now. Other administrative expenses showed that the group spent a total sum of 8.7 billion naira on bank charges, 583.79 billion naira on employees' benefit expenses, and 170.7 billion naira on security expenses. The report also stated that the NNPC spent a total sum of 45.88 billion naira on safeguarding its pipeline and maintenance costs nationwide.
So
huge
safeguarding
amount
pipelines.
of money.
Safeguarding pipeline.
45.88 billion naira on safeguarding.
Okay,
its
so
pipeline.
what is about 170 for security?
That's the question.
Security.
Wait, 170.7 billion naira on security expenses. That's a separate one. And another one, a total sum of 45.88 billion naira on safeguarding its pipeline and maintenance costs nationwide.
So that 40 is not, if it were a part of the 170.
It's definitely not part of the 170, and that is all in 1 year.
So let's talk about profit, because that's the bottom line.
Okay.
$2 billion that NNPC declared to Aramco's one. So what's the fifth of 121 billion? A fifth of even 120 is about how much? So look at what we're doing. NNPC has not been run efficiently. That's just the bottom line. You see, those ones that you say the directors aren't, those are the figures, real-time figures. What about the influence peddling? You know there is influence peddling.
Now, you said something like you said NNPCL is not being run efficiently.
No!
Who is to be asking questions? Or
Minister of Finance.
Should those that should be asking questions just leave them and let them do what they want to do?
Who are the people to ask questions?
That's why I'm asking you.
You and I, that's why we're here. We're asking questions. But are we getting answers? And who are those that
we can't get answers because nobody is asking questions. It is only when we ask questions that we get answers.
Yes, maybe.
Nobody seems to be putting NNPCL and its directors and its board on their toes because they keep on coming with excuses. Okay, they will give us.
Who are they answerable to? Ministry of Finance Incorporated. No, Ministry of Finance has been incorporated so that it can hold equity. Then the Federal Ministry of, what did they call that one? Petroleum Resources. They are the two owners of, and of course the two are agencies of government. The CFO during the press conference said they will be ready to do a public offer when they are owners. So who are the owners? Federal government. And ordinarily, you will say if it is owned by federal government, it is owned by the people of Nigeria. Do Nigerians think they own an NPC? Eh? Do you as a Nigerian think you're a stakeholder in an NPC? We don't think so. We don't behave so. You see, even we Nigerians, we are not...
You said we don't behave so.
No, we don't behave so. We don't behave so. We behave as if it is them and we. You understand?
But
that's why they say one by government property, Jay. What's government property? How can I say one by government property, Jay? It is public property. It is not government property. Because all those properties were acquired. And anybody that holds office, who is called a public office holder, holds office in trust for the people. We don't think so. Our orientation does not make us think so. FOI is there. Freedom of Information Act is there. Even as we media people, are we pushing? Are we pushing? Are we pushing? You understand? Do we have the necessary backing to push? If you want to push now about a specific agenda, about a specific issue, are you going to get the necessary backing?
Now, for how long Nigerians will have to keep their arms folded and watch NNPCL do this?
Well,
because
unless Nigerians decide.
As at this morning, there are still long queues with no tangible explanation for that.
We are a complacent, a docile people. That's what we are. Fela did a song how many decades ago? I know I won't die. I get a sister. I get a mother. Nobody wants to die. Bob Marley said everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die. Abi? Let's continue. And let me now back it up with the spiritual part of it. When a character in the Bible inadvertently gave blessings to a child, the other child that was the rightful owner of the blessings said, Father, what are you going to give? He said, that's the blessing I've given you. He said, when the burden of the yoke is too much, you will shove it off. The burden of the yoke is not.
But we're not feeling the burden of the yoke now.
When you can feel burden, but when it is not choking, when it's about taking life, that is when probably people will think, we'll have to shake it off.
But with all these expenses now, what is now that there's a committee in the Senate that should look into the activities of
So what are they doing? What are they doing? Are they asking questions? Are they asking the right questions? Look, I will remember in the days of Waifu, when the wife, Justice Waifu, was to probe something. In the days of Tell Magazine and Newswatch. The days of Newswatch was the days of Newswatch. And Reyeku wrote a stinging stinker against Justice Waifu and alluded to the Watergate scandal. And he referred to Justice Sirika. You need to probe. You need to ask questions. You understand? You need to probe. You need to dig. You need to scratch beyond the surface. When even some answers will compel you to ask even more questions.
Probably Nigerians don't know the right channel to go about asking this question because we seem to be too far away from these people.
A few weeks back, many weeks back, I called a man who has a doctor of philosophy and political science and who is also a senior advocate of Nigeria and who has also actively participated in the political space, rising to an enviable rank. The man said to me, when I said, let's have a conversation, he said, Ayo. He said, that's just 18 so Guinea. What has it resulted in? He said, are you, man over the, he said, are you not listening to yourself? But what does a woodpecker do? A woodpecker keeps striking.
On the same spot.
Same spot. The blacksmith does the same thing.
The same spot
until you get the form and shape you want.
All right, away from that, ICPC warns against undermining Supreme Court's judgment on local government autonomy. Now, with all these warnings coming every day, are there suspicions that some governors might not want to tilt?
They cannot break the law. If the governor cannot be sued, the Attorney General will be sued.
Because I honestly don't understand why ICPC
came
out
an institution
some weeks ago to give warning.
ICPC is warning as an institution. You understand? And that's a subtly directed in the way of governors and all of that.
But I think the warning goes both ways for the governors and for those local government chairmen that will now be in control of this money.
Undermining Supreme Court judgment. Yeah. So the federal government has set up a committee, implementation committee. Let's see. Let's wait. And let's watch.
Okay. Earlier this week we talked about the reinstatement, the upholding of the appeal by the appeal court, the judgment on the reinstatement of Philip Shaibu.
Yeah.
And we said we're going to get in touch with a legal expert to interpret the judgment.
So that we'll not just be talking as analysts. Let's have the legal shade of it.
Okay. We'll be right back. Let's try to connect with our lawyer.
Ahead of the curve and get updates on the latest trends in politics, government, policies, education, economy, social development, amongst others.
We're happy to announce today that both the federal government and the organized labor have agreed on an increase on the 62,000 naira minimum wage.
Join
Ayodiji Ajishokwe
and
Adedamola Lafenwa
on From the Dailies every weekday from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on Solutions 93.9 FM as they dive into the headlines with in-depth analysis and feedback from you on different stories from the national dailies. Start your day by gaining fresh perspectives, uncovering the story behind the story, and join the conversation. Because your voice matters. From the dailies, the conversation never stops.
All right, we now have our lawyer joining us virtually this morning. That is Folusho Olapo, barrister at law, joining us virtually this morning. A beautiful morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning this morning there.
Yeah, it's a wet, cool morning here. What about your end?
Very well. Very well, yes. It's a shower of blessings.
Shower of blessings.
It is.
Thank God.
Yes.
Edo State. That's one of the states that have been on our radar for many months now. Edo, Rivers, Ondo. Edo bubbled up again. And the appeal court affirmed the judgment of the Federal High Court reinstating
Philip
Shaibu as Deputy Governor of Edo State. There were declarative orders. So, this affirmation or reaffirmation of the reinstatement, how did it go? What was the basis for that original Justice Omotosho, ordering the reinstatement and then a reaffirmation? What were the legal grounds?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Therefore, ease of understanding, especially for our teaming listeners. I was very indulgent to just go back a bit before that judgment so that we can have a grip and understanding of that judgment.
All right, good one.
Sometimes in April, the House of Assembly, Edo State House of Assembly, decided to impeach the governor on two offenses. Mm-hmm. One, perjury, meaning that he lied.
Yeah.
In law, and secondly, that gross misconduct. So the panel, the judicial panel set up, could not find Mr. Shuaib guilty of perjury, but of course found him guilty of gross misconduct. Now the problem is this: gross misconduct is not defined in the Constitution, especially when one looks at section 188 subsection 11 of the 1999 Constitution as amended said that gross misconduct is what the House of Assembly regards as gross misconduct. So you see, it gives the House of Assembly a very great power, a very great power to use even and to abuse that process. And that is the process the governors, in collusion with the Houses of Assembly, has been using to impeach their deputies. But in this instance, because when there is going to be an impeachment, you have to serve a notice of that impeachment and the reasons for the impeachment and the facts of that for that reason. So the fact given was that he attached some sort of secret, government secret, to the fundamental enforcement filed in Abuja at the Federal High Court, where where my Lord Justice Omotosho was the judge, or is still the judge. So, what Justice Omotosho did was that, one, the Constitution surpasses every other law. And you cannot tell when somebody is filing for a fundamental enforcement, the court usually takes it as everything, because that is the essence of human being, the dignity of the human person. And anybody that is trying to enforce his fundamental rights, is pulling on that I have dignity and this must not be done to me. So in that respect, Justice Omotosho, my Lord, just said that that ground that the House of Assembly stood on for the impeachment was not a ground at all, and they cannot hold them. To that extent, whatever they have done on that ground is null and void because it's contrary to the Constitution.
Okay.
It will sound amazing, and it appears to me, in my own personal opinion, I think the court is getting better.
Judicial activism, like the days of Oputa and Esho.
The Latawuras, the Nikki Tobis, the Canadian Shores. It appears that time is coming back. And I am very happy about it. Because the governors are just too, I don't know, they turn themselves into
with this judgment coming from the appeal court now, I think it will send a kind of a clear message to the governors, because we said that when the governor doesn't like his deputy anymore, that means his days are numbered, and they have a way of influencing the House of Assembly to get the deputy governor out of the way. So I think this will pass a signal to them that you can't just do any shoddy RNG within the House to impeach anybody henceforth.
So the issue of this blanket gross misconduct being subject to interpretation of the Assembly is being challenged and limited.
Yes, it's being limited by the courts now. So that
you must provide proof. You must provide proof of gross.
Yes, the court is saying that because Mr. Shaibu attached that into his fundamental right enforcement doesn't mean that he, exposed official secrets, and that even the Constitution overrules whatever any law that is inconsistent with the Constitution is to that extent, to the extent of inconsistent void. So that is what the court is trying to say. You are standing on the Secret Oath Act to that extent, but you are not doing anything to prove your case that Mr. Shaibu actually, exposed or leaked official secrets. So
Thank
you cannot just say because it's...
Well, Barrister Law, Mr. Folusho Olakwo, thank you for your illuminating interventions there. I mean, it is easy to, sit over these things, but when we get it from the bigger mind.
And I like the way he broke it down. I mean, it's to a layman's level, so that everybody will understand the integrity behind the judgment.
Thank you very much for your interventions. Do have a most splendid weekend, and God bless.
I wish you the same time. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
God bless Nigeria.
Amen.
A big amen to that. Okay, that was Barrister Folusho Olakwo shedding light on the judgment at the Appeal Court in Edo State, reinstating or reaffirming the reinstatement of Philip Shaibu, the Deputy Governor of Edo State. But before we go, Comrade Ayodeji Asokwe,
Yes, bro.
there's a particular clip I want you to listen to, and this was Obi Ezekwesili. In the course of the week, I think she was reacting to the purchase of the new presidential aircraft. As we wrap up, let's take a listen and we talk about our own opinion on the purchase of the new aircraft.
We have heard justifying the basis for a new craft. And by the way, I'm absolutely upset that these fellows would dare to play with the intelligence of the Nigerian public. Between the executive, the president, the presidency, the National Assembly, I think they are decided that they are the bandits. They are the bandits. All of them. The political class has decided that they are the bandits against the people of Nigeria. Because I do not see how it is feasible that the topmost priority of a government that has this level of biting hunger in the land, this level of poverty, where its people are dropping into poverty per minute, would consider the purchase of a befitting aircraft for the president. The construction of a 20 billion naira home for the vice president. The purchase of all kinds of funny-looking cars and the fleet of the National Assembly members and the executive. What exactly is that? And I speak with a lot of moral authority. I served this country. They want everything about what I earned. They can find it in their folder. As a minister, they have something called Minister's Impress or something vote. My PAMSEC, Abokizawa, will tell you until tomorrow that I did not touch a dime. So when people say all these things, were you not in government? I was in a sane government. I wasn't in a government that watches women screaming, Ebin power, we're hungry, we haven't eaten. People used to do 0, something or 1. Today, families write and say, our children haven't eaten in the last 3 days because we just cannot afford the prices in the market. When inflation is at 40%, it erodes the poor. It literally, look, central banks exist to manage inflation.
All right, former minister there, Obi Ezekwesili, on our own opinion concerning the purchase of the new presidential Airbus.
Yes, I am not going to address that directly because it speaks to a bigger issue. And it is this. When Obi Ezekwesili served, so also did Okonjo-Iweala.
Definitely. We're in
Those
the same
guys
government.
had to appeal to Obasanjo as president and commander-in-chief that they be paid in US dollars. Because they were paid in that, they could no longer afford to pay their children's school fees and stuff like that. Because they left the World Bank and all of that to come and serve their nation. A reduced income. That is service. That is what happens globally. You see, let me tell you my candid opinion. I have been close enough in the public space to our leaders, be it at the national level or at the state level. It is patently clear that except for a few of them, Nigeria is not topmost on their minds. And they conduct themselves in the public space as if they are the office. With the moment of getting to the office, they start equating themselves with the office.
As the office.
They are not the office. If a governor walks in now and people get up on their feet, it is not for the man.
It is for
It
the
is
office.
for the office. That is why when they are in office, the smallest office you occupy in Nigeria, your phone will start ringing. The moment you lose that office, or it is apparent you're going to lose that office, your phone will stop ringing. People should not, political office holders, public office holders, be it civil servants or whatever, they should not equate themselves with the office they occupy. I had a boss, he's still my boss. I respect and love him for that. He will say, Ayodeji, let us not live a life that is sustainable out of these offices that we presently occupy. That is why they never want to leave. That is why they never want to depart those offices.
Because they can't sustain the kind of lifestyle they were living while in power, while in office.
No matter how much public funds you steal, and then we use that word deliberately and intentionally, no matter how much. A friend of mine will say, look, if a story building is filled with money, a fool and his money will soon be parted. They are not investing in Nigeria. They are not even investing where they are keeping the money. The monies are just lying idle and idle. And if you continue to take $10, $1,000 out of it, of course, you know the level at which they live. The money will get depleted. So that's why they must stay in office or stay in the corridors of power permanently for life.
All right, Comrade Ayodeji Shokpe, our time is fast spent, and that's it's about time for us to call it a day on today's edition From the Dailies. We'll be back again on Monday morning for a fresh edition. Thank you very much, Comrade Ayodeji Shokpe.
My pleasure always.
For giving us your perspective. Very wonderful perspective.
My pleasure always.
All right, that's the wrap.
Platform.
That's the wrap for today. Like I said, we'll be back again Monday morning for a fresh edition of From the Dailies on your number one radio dial, Solutions 93.9 FM. Like I always say, thank you very much for always making us your choice. My name is Adi Damala Lafema. Wishing every one of us a splendid weekend. Good morning.
I explain. Two heavy brothers, then sit down inside sun, then they sweat. Then they share one bottle of beer between themselves. Then one fine lady, you come meet them, you say, brother, I beg, buy me one bottle of beer now. Then go look themselves, look the woman, look them pocket, look them suffer for Africa. Then go say, stalemate. Tó bá rọ́kùnrin méjì, tó bá rọ́kùnrin méjì, tó pín bí àkànmú. Tó bá rọ́kùnrin méjì, tó pín bí àkànmú. Tó lóbìnrin wá dé o, tó ní bùrọ̀dá ẹ ra bíyà fún mi.
Ọ̀rọ̀ dìhun, ọ̀rọ̀ pèsè jẹ́ o, ọ̀rọ̀ dìhun.
La 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 la.
Ọ̀rọ̀ dìhun,
La 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 la.
ọ̀rọ̀ pèsè jẹ́ o, ọ̀rọ̀ dìhun.
Yes, now I explain. You know, two women bring argument to you. We start from them gossip. They won't make you give them answer into them gossip arguments, or make you settle the matter when you not know the beginning or the end. You go say, na stalemate. Tó bá rọ́bìnrin méjì, tó ń rojọ́ wẹ́wẹ́ wọn. Tó bá rọ́bìnrin méjì, tó ń ro lọ́ọ̀yà fún ẹ. Tó ń rojọ́